Hello. Has it happened to you that you're out of energy, that you don't feel motivated anymore, that basically you lost your goals, that you lost your energy, your drive, and basically that you kind of are not yourself anymore? It has happened to many of us. My name is Dr. Žarko Kostić and I'm a motivational speaker. I am a medical doctor. Basically, I finished medical school and I was reading lots of books about the mind and about the psyche or the soul. And in the medicine books itself, it said that most of the diseases are psychosomatic. Psycho means mind or soul, and somatic refers to the body. So basically, there is some kind of a reference that over 70% of the diseases that we encompass in medicine have no etiology, which means cause, coming from the body, but all of this comes from our mind or our psyche or our soul. So this led me to search about the mind, about the soul, about how we can prevent getting sick. And this led me into the realm, into the sphere of motivation. And this is what I do for about 15 years of my life. I do life coaching and I do team building with companies and I do motivational speeches. Today I want to encompass a subject that is very well known and it's common and we have experienced all of us. And this is a loss of energy, loss of purpose, loss of drive. And basically we are not creating anymore the life that we want, but we can say that we are effect or the life creates us. There is a very old philosophical law that before we want to get something or accomplish something, we have to do or we have to get in action. But what is even more important, we have to be. So this is something that I'm going to present it on the board. So there is a law about being, doing, and at the end is to have something. So the way it goes, usually we are fixated of what we want to have. So all of us want to have a nice house, we want to have the good marriage partner, we want to have the company that we want to accomplish the end result that we're dreaming about. But what is basically lacking is the action that we are supposed to do to accomplish that. But what's even more important, which is lacking at that moment, is what are we being? When we say be is a very common and small word in the English language that represents a lot. To be means to have an identity, to have a role in a game of life. So we have all several identities in our lives. Daily, we are changing those identities. I am being at one moment, let's say a boyfriend or a husband, or I can be a head of the company, or I can be an executive in the company, or I can be just like an employer or employee, or I can be a brother. All have identities in our lives. So this is what we are being. So when we encompass, when we take on this role to be something, only then we can do and basically have is the end result of our action. Many times we're just, again, as I said, fixated on having what we want to have, but this is not the problem. Many times we are just, lazy and sitting in our rooms, or we are just daydreaming, which is nothing wrong about daydreaming, but many times we are daydreaming without having to take an action to accomplish the end result. And this is the problem. But when we are basically not doing the actions to achieve our goals, this means that what's lacking is that we are not working on our beingness or our identity. And this is very, very important. This is important for a sports person to do. This is important for an individual. And basically, being is encompassing a space. Being is certainty. Being is courageousness. Being is motivation. Being is everything that you are supposed to have, or let's say to be again, before you can do something and achieve the end result. Being is very rewarding. Whenever we are not being, we are retrieving out of life. We are not encompassing life, we are not attacking life, we are not outflowing energy, but we are waiting and we are waiting for something good to happen to us. But this leads us to negative energy, this leads us to depression. We are waiting that somebody else handles the lives and necessities, what we are basically ourselves supposed to do to create what we want to have at the end. So let's see how this works in real life. I'm going to give a couple of examples here. So let's say Have you been in a situation when in your relationship there is no any more zest, there is no any more creation, there is no any more enthusiasm about the other partner? You see, at the beginning, the way it was, we were being something. We decided to be somebody who is gonna romance that girl, who is gonna, create for that girl to achieve it, to achieve the goal, which is to basically have her. You cannot really have the spiritual being, but let's say you wanted to spend the rest of your life with your girlfriend or with the girl that you're trying to get, let's say in the game of life. And at the beginning, you see, all the beginnings are so creative. Why? Because the beginning is to be. We are deciding to be something. We're deciding to be the guy that is gonna, conquer the world, or the guy who is gonna get the girl that he wants. So when we are being, or we are deciding to be something at the beginning of the game, we always have good manners. We always have positive energy, and we are always creative. So why there is a certain, let's say, percentages or rules about marriages or relationship, that things start to go downhill basically after the second or the third year. And I'm going to explain you why I think this is the case. At the beginning, when we are on this level of a creativity, let's say, to be something, we are always very creative. We are, bringing the girl the flowers, we're opening the door for her, we are creating her dinner, we are taking her to movies, her family is the best family we have seen, we are not bothered by her friends, we like her friends, everything is smooth, everything is nice. Why? Because we are positive. You see, when we are positive, the environment is exactly the way we see it. So when we are motivated, when we are creative, when we are at the beginning of this cycle of creation, we are great. And that's how we see the world. So what is happening, we are doing these actions to get this girl, and at the end, we get the girl, and it's super nice, it's sweet, we are, we feel great, but after a while, what is happening? When we get something, we are going into a stop. You see, because the goal has been achieved, and now we take this girl for granted. We have the goal, we have the girl, it's our girl, we put a ring on her finger, we are married, and now we take it for granted, and we are losing the creativity anymore. And this is where the problem starts. You see, now when we are in a stop, when we got her, then we start to be destructive, because the subconscious mind starts to operate and starts to get active when we are being stopped. We are stopping ourselves when we achieve a goal and we don't set another goal. So let's say this is the goal that we want to accomplish. This is where we are at the beginning. And now we are overcoming these barriers, these obstacles to achieve the goal. And it's beautiful when we achieve the goal. We are happy. But what's happening at that moment, we become a little bit more static. We are not creative anymore. And we are waiting to get energy from the other one. So why are you not creating? You see, now it's not our children anymore. You start to say something like, your children? When did this become her children and not ours? You see, we start to become a little bit destructive when we are in a stop, because we take things for granted. Let's put this in another perspective. Let's put this in terms of a job. At the beginning, have you seen, like at the beginning, how all the salespeople are getting all the sales done? Why? Because they're at B. You see, when I speak with salespeople, and basically everything is sales, everything is promotion. When we are on this level of B, we are promoting ourselves. We have good manners, and we have a great self-promotion. When we achieve something and when we are stopped, basically we're also promoting our negative parts of the character. Why? Because we take things for granted. Now I started to talk about salespeople. I diverted a little bit. But have you had an experience when there is a salesperson that is only interested in to get something? There is nothing wrong with setting targets and going to achieve them. Yeah, this is needed. But what sometimes managers don't realize, and when you're setting targets only and you're chasing this part to have something, if you're neglecting to motivate them, why are they selling this? Are they there to help the other person? You see, when we become interested to have something and not to give it, Basically, when we are being, we are giving. Now, when we are stuck on this thing, when we achieve our goals and when we are stopped, we want to have things before we can be. And this is wrong. How does this look in a company? Well, if I get a raise in a salary, I can be more efficient. If somebody were to give me something, I can be more. No. There is a very beautiful quote from Tony Robbins. Your biggest resource is your resourcefulness. So basically, my resourcefulness is my finding ideas and creativity, how to overcome barriers to achieve something. Now, I was talking about salespeople. When you see there is a sales guy that is like, you know, armed with all these sales techniques, and he knows what to say to any objection that you have. All this is trained, but there is something lacking in this guy. And you see that he is not there for you, but he is here for himself, to make the close and to get the sale. But there is no interest in you. And this is the problem. On the other hand, there is a young guy that just started selling and working in this company. And what is happening? He's so much on B. He is so much interested in you. He is so motivated. You start to ask him certain things. And maybe he doesn't know all the answer. He doesn't know how to handle your objection and your reactions. But you see in him a true purpose to help the other person. This guy really sells. He can make the sale. You see, when you're trying to sell yourself to your girlfriend, this is what you were doing. You were being interested in the other person. You were thinking about the other person. You were basically there to help the other person. You were creating, and energy was outflowing from you. And it was all about the other person. And you were happy, of course. Because when we are being happy. To be means to go in the game of life and to be there and to create and to give yourself in the creativity for the other person. You know, too many times in the company, when people are not constantly working on this part to be, then we get fed up with our job and we are demotivated. We are basically trying to make somebody else guilty. Have you seen how there's like stupid games in the companies when people are not really motivated to work? Now what the games become, you know, gossiping and, you know, trying to talk behind the back for another person, and basically you're always trying to find the wrong things that are happening in the company. Because why? Because we are basically negative at that moment. So there is this new guy coming in the company and he is all like positive, enthusiastic. He doesn't ask for the salary when it's coming. He doesn't ask for all these things that are basically people that are in stop there always looking for something to be given. And this guy is just giving himself. He's giving everything for the job. And after 2 years, he becomes the same like these other guys that are just gossiping around and they're basically not efficient. What's have changed is that they have become in a stop, they have the job, they have it for granted, and basically they don't set any new goals to be in the game of life. Now in the life itself, if you don't put a goal there is no way to be motivated. Because goal is basically something that is pulling us like a magnet and giving us energy to be creative. But we have to want it, we have to like it. There's many things why we become demotivated. There's negative people around us. We don't know how to achieve the goals. We run into barriers and then give up. I'm going to be talking about this maybe in the next videos. But one more thing that I want to say regarding this is that, you know, to be part of life, you have to be a little bit courageous. It takes courage to be. Because in life you can win and you can lose. This universe is such that it always has two things. It has black and white, plus and minus, good and bad, day and night. It's dual universe. Basically, there's two things of it. Now, when you're running away from one thing, never to lose, I never want to lose, basically you're going to avoid fulfilling your potential to be. You see, because when you want to be something, you're running there in life and you're not really thinking about losing, but you can experience the loss. You see, if we're always running away from something, then it basically, subconsciously, we're pulling it in us. In order to be, you have to be willing to win and to lose. To love, to hate, to be loved, to be hated. But basically, you have to be willing to experience both things. Now, sometimes what's happening with us, we run into barriers, we experience a loss, and then we go back from livingness, from life, because our subconscious mind starts to operate and starts to tell us, don't do that again. Don't go in a new relationship. Don't get a new job. It's going to happen to you again. The same negative thing that happened to you, it's going to happen again. So basically, the subconscious mind is pulling us back from life. But life is full of risk. And you have to be willing to risk to be part of life. And basically, when you go into barriers, and you go into losses, and you go into disappointments, you can always learn something from it. This is the biggest thing that we should not be afraid of. There is a beautiful quote from Michael Jordan, who says, he has missed 9,000 points, he has lost about 300 games or 26 times. He was given the last shot, to score the points, and he missed. And what he says, to paraphrase it, is that basically he's willing to lose, and that's why he's successful. He's willing to fail, and that's why he is very successful. And I have seen many, many players, when I talk about sports, because I try to motivate sportists a lot, is that I have seen many times, the courageous sportists always goes towards the ball. The ball, they tell me, the ball is always like a magnet to him. I say, no, he goes towards the ball. You see, in life we have to go towards things, to embrace the barriers, to be willing to confront the good things and the bad things in life. But not to get the bad things in life and to take them too seriously and, to be stopped by them, but rather to learn something from them and to use that knowledge and experience to be smarter and again to go in life and overcome the barriers with the newly acquired knowledge that we have. So basically for today, I just wanted to say it's very good when you're being, and we have always, we have been willing to be things. You see, our willingness to be diminishes. And this is what I want for you, for your company, and for your team. How to be naturally motivated by regaining the willingness to be there and to give yourself to the environment. Despite the disappointments in the relationship, despite the disappointments and problems at work, despite not getting the acknowledgement that when you thought you should have gotten it, despite anything and everything. You see, because it's very easy to retreat from life, to be static, to be cynical, to be critical, and to know everything, how it should operate, but you are not part of life. You don't want to be that kind of a person. What you want to be courageous, to be responsible, to be willing to go out of the comfort zone, to be willing to give yourself, to be enthusiastic again. And for the end, I just want to clarify what this word enthusiasm means. Enthusiasm means unrestraining yourself and giving everything that you've got for the cause, for the purpose, for the job, for the team. It comes from two Greek words, en, which means into. Enthusiasm comes from the word theo, which means God. This is godly emotion. And I want you to be enthusiastic about life, about the job, about your relationship, and about everything in life. I'm so glad that I was able to deliver this message to you. I want to help you. I want to help your company. I want to help your team. Contact me for further data. Have a great day.